I don't want to like be an accessory. You know? Like it's not fun if you're just like expected to give one thing.
Hello, welcome back to Sextras,
where we talk about sex and all the extras.
Yes, I'm Honey, and my fun fact is my favourite monarch is Queen Victoria.
Hi, I'm Maria, and I've done drugs with my parents.
We have a very lovely guest with us today. He is one of our closest friends, our honorary gay friend. And yeah, welcome, William.
Hello, I'm Will, and I am a massive cheapskate. Like, so cheap.
That you are.
I really am.
The cheapest man alive.
I can't escape it. Doomed to be cheap.
This week we are going to be having a little chat with William about the fact that he's our honorary gay friend, how he feels about that, and just his general experience as a gay man. But we have a little segment for you, which we asked, this is our new segment, it's called Stereotypes. So we want to, when we have guests, just ask a little question about your stereotypes regarding the different guests or the different topic we're talking about that week. And we asked what your stereotypes of gay men are. So we're going to just talk through those.
How juicy.
So juicy.
Yeah, and basically ask Will what degree of truth he thinks they have.
Yeah, I want to put it out there that I'm like not an authority on this. I'm simply a gay man. I'm not like a gay professor, so...
Oh no, you're the representative of the entire gay community.
Yeah, and we've established at this point that I'm always right, so...
Oh yeah,
there's literally
true.
no way I could ever be wrong about anything, so that's fine.
That's true. He can never offend anyone or do any wrong.
No, not at all.
So buckle up!
Buckle up!
Yes, this is going to be a juicy ride.
It's going to be the ride of our lives.
So stereotypes.
Yes. Stereotypes.
Gay man edition. First one up. Judgy.
See, I didn't really like understand this one. I thought because like gay people have like quite a lot of alternative life experience, I feel like sometimes they're least judgy people, but then like what did we think this person meant?
Well, maybe no, I agree with like obviously they wouldn't be judgy because they have a kind of a tough life experience as minorities or whatever, but maybe judgy in the sense of like the stereotype of like the gay guy, the super gay guy in high school that's just like really bitchy and judgy and will be like, ew, did you see what she was wearing?
Yeah, no, I get that one. I get it.
Do you see truth
yeah, or like
to
gay
it?
guys in the club.
Yeah.
I feel like that was judging my outfit.
What kind of clubs are you at?
Yeah.
I feel like as long as you're
Like
not
Heaven.
like on a hen night at Heaven, like you're kind of given a bit of a pass. Like they don't really mind the straights unless they're like being rude and stuff. But I don't know, I see some truth in it. It's as with any stereotype, like I feel like there can be truth in them, but also obviously they don't speak for absolutely every person. So
Yeah.
it just depends who you're talking to. Like there definitely are those super bitchy gay people. Yeah.
I
True.
feel like as well gay men are like, it can go one of two ways. Either they're super judgy, or in my experience they have been like the most complimentary and like uplifting people that I've met, like random
Complimentary
people
and uplifting
out and about. Like they'll be like, oh girl,
Yes, queen.
you're like
Every gay
slaying it
person.
right
Oh
now.
my god. I love how this is like the absolute opposite to what I am. Like I'll give you like the stink eye and that's it.
Yeah, so you're one of the judgy
I'm
ones.
not one of the judgy ones. I'm just not like, I'm not good at complimenting people. It feels fake. Like,
Yeah,
what if I
that's fair.
don't think you look good?
I think compliments do kind of seem fake. Like a lot of the time.
But then what are you meant to do?
I'm trying, like, this is something I've worked on, like, in my self-improvement schedule, is like, if I actually like something that someone's wearing or how they look, then I'll try and like consciously tell them, because sometimes I feel like I'm a bit of a cold bitch, so maybe it helps
Same.
if I like actually tell people when I think they look good, because they do. I don't know, I think I just need to like speak what I think. Actually, maybe not. That's probably not a good idea. Oh
Speak
god.
the good and the bad.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay, next one. Really into fashion and beauty and that kind of thing. Well,
Well,
thoughts?
I mean, yeah, go for it. Like, I don't know. I feel that sometimes they're more into fashion, but then also, like, you literally got to watch Queer Eye and you see like gay people that don't know what the fuck they're doing with their clothes. So I think it's true and false. You know, I don't know. I quite take care of like how I look. I quite like to present myself in a nice way, but I don't know. Some people not.
And then again, there's like lots of straight guys that are also really into clothes.
Oh
and
my god,
fashion,
yeah.
a lot more than gay guys sometimes. So.
Also,
yeah,
there's this thing. I feel like it's very hard to distinguish people, because like sometimes I see people out and about, and I don't know whether this is just wishful thinking, but I'm always like, oh, that guy's gay, and then turns out he has like a girlfriend, and then he kisses her on the street, and I like cry a little solitary tear.
Do you have a good gaydar?
I think I do, because sometimes like my initial suspicion is right, but also I have this thing where like if anyone shows me any kind of kindness, I'm like, you must be gay. Especially straight boys, like if they're not an arsehole to me, I'm like, you must be gay. But they're not.
Do you think the stereotype that gay guys are really into fashion is like harmful? Because I can imagine being a gay guy who doesn't really care about that kind of thing, which there must be a lot of gay men that aren't into fashion or they don't like expressing themselves in that way. And then I don't know, like, do you think there's just pressure?
I think maybe there is, but also at the same time, I was going to touch on this later, that actually this is probably more applicable for one of the next ones, because like another thing that came up is that gay men are like very flamboyant and very camp and whatever, and I think this kind of feeds into the same stereotype to some extent. But there's also this weird thing in the gay community that masculine men are kind of, or the masculine gays, like air quotes, kind of like see themselves as better than the like flamboyant, like camp ones.
Oh, yeah, I see.
So there's this weird like mask for mask trend. Like you've probably seen like jokes about that online, but it's just these like super masculine, hyper masculine gay guys who like only want other masculine men.
Yeah, no,
and,
I
like,
have
they'll just turn their
actually
nose
seen
up at
that.
like effeminate gay boys.
Yeah.
Gay
That's
boys.
so
Well, I feel like
ew.
I feel like I know that there's a lot of gay guys that, for instance, wouldn't date guys that do drag or dress more effeminate.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like this weird kind of cultural currency situation in which that like I feel, masculinity is like quite highly prized in the gay community, just because it's something that's kind of seen as, I don't know whether this is true or not, but it's like seen as quite rare. So like hyper masculine men, I feel like are kind of idolized a bit, which is a bit weird.
Surely that's kind of like
Like the
regressive.
unicorns.
It's super regressive. I feel like there's loads of aspects of the gay community that are like super gross and regressive. And sometimes it gets to a point where I'm like, I really don't want to be part of all of this. And then you just got to kind of like take a step back and realize that that's not everyone. It's just like when you're like, for example, gay Twitter is like super, oh my God, so gross. But I don't know. Every time it's going to come back to the fact that like everyone's different. And
Yeah.
obviously it's not true for everyone, but there is definitely a weird thing about masculinity, I would say.
Okay.
Do you want to read the next one, William?
Well, I kind of did it with the flamboyance thing, but what about someone says like slutty girl clothes? Great.
What do you mean?
To be fair, like I feel
that they wear slutty girl clothes.
or maybe that they like slutty girl clothes, or they wear. Yeah, I guess that they wear slutty
as
girl
in on
clothes.
themselves or on girls.
On themselves. And to be fair, right, so recently, or not recently, I don't know, you know of these like East London gays, like the super funky queer ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all like, when they go out and stuff, they'll all wear like fishnet tank tops. And
Oh, I
like,
was gonna say I
Oh.
love fishnet tank tops. I think they're so amazing. Whenever I
Yeah.
see anyone wearing them, it makes me so happy.
yeah, like I've been to, I don't know what you would call it, like gatherings of these said gays, and like they've dressed me up in like those weird tops that girls wear where it's like one sleeve, you know, the one strap.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I guess they kind of do wear slutty girl clothes.
But you know what? I've never seen a girl wearing a fishnet tank top though. Now that
Yeah,
I'm
I feel
thinking
like
That's
it's not
true.
slutty girl clothes, because when I think of slutty girl clothes, I think of low cut crop tops and like short, tiny dresses. But I feel like I don't see like what I picture in guys wearing slutty, quote unquote, slutty girl clothes. It is more like fishnet tops and like
maybe it's more
vests,
colour schemes.
like not vests. What are they called? Yeah, like tank tops and things like that. Whereas that, I don't think that's Anyway,
I just mean that like I think a lot of like these clothes that I'm talking about that these specific types of people wear are like they're like physically from like Zara women. like they're actually like women clothes. And that's not to say that clothes is, you know, that's a whole other topic about like who can wear what clothes, because everyone obviously can wear whatever the fuck they want. But like sometimes they do just wear like girls' clothes, and that's cool. So yeah, I guess that one is true, slightly, for some people.
Okay, what about super promiscuous?
Yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, probably. Well, like obviously not for everyone.
All gay people.
All gay people are really promiscuous. No, I think as with kind of any sexual orientation or people, like there are people who are and aren't, but I think the whole like hookup culture in the gay community is pretty strong. And I think maybe part of that is just like, if we're talking about gay men specifically, like cis gay men, I think probably it's safe to say that like cis men have like maybe a higher sex drive than most people.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because they're both men, so that they like work the same way, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I
that
mean,
makes
we can get into the hookup culture a little bit later, but basically you're saying kinda to super
In my
promiscuous.
experience, yeah, the gay community
Would you
is quite
say-
like hookup orientated and quite promiscuous.
Would you say that's more in like the younger gay community, or
No,
it-
like I
does it
think
carry on
it's
into all
it
of
carries
them?
on, and I don't know. I feel, well, I don't know about straight people, but I feel like there are a lot of men like gay men in like their 30s and 40s and 50s who are just like who haven't settled down and like are just kind of they sleep with lots of people.
Hmm.
Okay.
So all gay men are sluts, that's what you're saying?
100%.
Okay. Next one, this is kind of in the same strain, I guess, that they can't sustain a monogamous relationship.
Yeah, this is a weird one because it's like obviously a huge generalization, but like I've definitely come up against people who, like recently I was talking to this old gay guy who, you know, for whatever reason was like quite a, you know, one of those like bitchy gay guys. Like he was quite like a bitter man and like very effeminate and like, I don't know, just always had something to say about everything I was doing or saying. And I was talking about how I recently got a boyfriend, and he was like, well, that won't last long. Like he was like, gay men never, like he was like, gay relationships always turn into open relationships. I was like, okay, well, you can think that, but I don't know. I think it's ridiculous to say that just because people are gay, like they're not going to want to sleep with the same person for the rest of their life, you know?
Because I'm kind of thinking, I feel like in TV shows, or I don't know, in media and social media and stuff like that, I do see a lot of it doesn't last and it's like very promiscuous and all of these things. But then at the same time, I also see like a lot of gay couples that have been together for really long and like have children together, and it's like kind of always polar opposites. Like I feel like I don't see that many just couples. Like it's always very much like ride or die, or
like they're either super committed or like yeah, no, I kind of get that.
But I don't think that's necessarily how it is.
What about Cam and Mitch in Modern Family?
Cam and Mitch. The dream
Who kissed
team.
like twice in 9 seasons.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, I never realised that.
No, they kiss more than that, but I'm pretty sure it's like you can count it in your hands, and there's like 9 seasons.
Jeez.
Yeah, they hold hands all the time and like talk about having sex, but they never kiss
Not
or like
really.
allude.
They don't
They never
talk,
like
about
allude.
having sex.
No, I think they do talk about it, but probably not as much as Claire and Phil do. Like they always allude to Claire and Phil having sex, or like show
That's
the
true.
before scenes of them having sex, but they never do that with Cam and Mitch.
Yeah, that's so true.
I think that kind of
Disgusting.
relationship though is like, it's kind of a textbook example of like the acceptable gay relationship. No, like they're very like stereotypical.
Married,
they're very
with kids.
Yeah, they're completely like unthreatening in any way. They don't really have like a lot. I don't know. I just feel like they don't have a lot about them that isn't like them being gay, you know?
But that's what I
Yeah.
mean. I feel like gay couples are so often represented as this like long term, like really settled down. We've adopted our little token Asian baby. Not that there's anything wrong with adopting Asian babies, but you know what I mean.
Obviously,
Like,
yeah.
it's
Token.
I feel like that's like the idealistic TV representation.
Totally.
Of it.
And I also think that in that same vein, like this idea that the ones that are successful are like the ones that are fully assimilated into everything that a straight couple would be. So these ideas of like strong marriage, like family values, when like realistically that might not be a thing that really straight couples are bothered about. Like, it's obviously there's diversity in all these situations, but I feel like to be like an acceptable gay relationship, they have to subscribe to these like very heteronormative values.
Yeah, wow, I never really thought about that, but it's so true.
But I feel like obviously it is such a problem in the gay community, because you just shouldn't be comparing gay couples to straight couples, because it's just not the same thing. Like the whole who wears the pants in the relationship, like fuck off. But it's kind of just the whole idea of a nuclear family, which is just fucked up, and it just pisses me off, because like obviously I'm not from a nuclear family, and it's like, oh, but like what about your dad, like what about this, what about that, and it's so harmful to so many people. Like, if we didn't even ask people those questions in the first place, then this whole idea of there has to be a couple and there has to be like siblings, or just this complete perfect family sphere, then so much harm would just disappear, I think.
I always joke that like until I came along, my family was like the perfect nuclear family. And then I was born and like bam, hello, I'm gonna cause loads of problems. No, but I think I'm also a bit of a peacekeeper, so it evens itself out.
Okay, next one.
Yeah, a lot of effeminate, like not masculine, being feminine. So yeah, like being I guess we kind of already talked about that. Sweet and horny as fuck.
Oh, yeah, sweet and horny as fuck. Yeah.
That's like the tagline.
What do you guys
for
think
all
about
gay
this?
people.
Sweet and horny as fuck TM.
Yeah.
.com.org.
Yeah, I see that. I feel like that's kind of my perception of gay men, like sweet and horny.
Is that me?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, cute. Yeah, I feel like that one's kind of fair, but like I guess there are loads of people that aren't horny as fuck, and there are loads of people that aren't sweet. Like, I've met a lot of gay people that aren't sweet, so
yeah, it's like saying all straight people are sweet. Which is definitely not true.
Yeah, this is another thing, is like, yeah, it's weird to say like that a group of people can be considered sweet when, like, if you tried to say like, oh, straight people are so sweet, like you'd be like, what the fuck?
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh, you're straight, sweetie. Oh, that's cute. That's sweet.
Brunettes are so sweet.
Oh my god, yeah. No, yeah, I think, yeah.
I mean, I feel like stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. Like, there's a lot of truth to them. I mean, of course, they're very generalizing, and you can't really say like a whole group of people, like all gay men are very feminine. Like, it is true for a lot, and otherwise there wouldn't be that stereotype. But I mean, with everything, like, there's
but then I think
exceptions, and everyone's different. But I feel like there is. Do you think that there's truth to gay men stereotypes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, this dude that I was talking about, the guy that was like, monogamous relationships never last or whatever, he like single-handedly embodied every single one of these. Like he was really effeminate, like really judgy. Actually, he wasn't very fashionable. But yeah, so they're all obviously these people that are embody the stereotypes, but there are people that break that mold as well.
How harmful do you think stereotypes about gay men are?
Oh, well, I hate the really stereotypical, like, fashion obsessed, like, really effeminate kind of idea, because obviously those people exist, so it's not bad in that sense. It's just, like, I hate when our representation in the modern mainstream media is, like, limited only to that. And it's weird when people kind of expect you to be a certain way, and then when you're not, they're like, oh, this is a bit strange. So I don't know. I think it can be harmful in that it claims to speak for a whole number of people, most of which it doesn't fit. So
fair enough. Yeah, so thank you for playing stereotypes with us, William, and breaking them down.
No problem.
I think the conclusion is that they're mostly true.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so kind of leading on from the whole stereotypes segment, I wanted to ask Will about your experience with coming out and kind of growing up and realizing you're gay. But firstly, I wanted to ask about the expectation of being camp in the gay community, because I know obviously being like camp is such an integral part of gay culture and it stems from gay culture. But do you think that having to go from like one extreme of being in the closet when you're younger and then suddenly being out and all these people around you have all these expectations of what they think gay people should look like and what they should be, like what's that like, having to fulfill those?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that happens, and I think like right when I was coming out, it was probably like 2014 or something, but that was, as far as I can remember, I think that was like quite a significant time in that a lot of like gay lingo was like migrating into common speech with a lot of people. Like maybe this is when like the whole like yes queen thing happened, and so it was quite obvious that like I was slightly expected to kind of act a certain way. And I remember thinking that like because I kind of was forced out of the closet, it was kind of safe to then embody the stereotypes that I kind of thought that I should. So I remember I had like this massive complex about how I thought that I kind of just made up my personality to be this kind of camp person just because that's like what I thought I was supposed to do. And I feel like that's something that probably a lot of people experience, like the need to kind of make yourself identifiable as what you've been singled out as, you know?
Yeah. So it's kind of a safety net.
Yeah, it's like, it's safety, it's recognizable for people. I feel people think, or maybe they feel kind of comfortable around that kind of stereotype. So, and it's what I said before, like it's pretty non-threatening. So I feel like it's quite easy for queer youth to like embody. So maybe it's just like the easy option. But then I remember thinking like probably when I was like 16, 17, whatever, I started thinking like how much of this is actually me and how much of it is something that I kind of created to feel safe.
I remember when I came out, or like right around the first couple of years, I was so into being bi, like so much of my personality was being bi. And like and it being like, oh, I like girls, like I'm so bi, and like just wanting to do all the gay stuff, and like, you know, I really, really identified with the LGBTQ community and and stuff like that. But and there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like now, as I've grown up a little bit and come more into myself and being able to kind of just adopt the whole gayness as part of my personality rather than it being like my main identity.
Yeah. Totally get that.
It mellows out. But I do get the whole pressure of like these stereotypes. Sometimes you're like, oh fuck, like I'm not really like that. I've never really done that. Oh, am I not gay enough? Like, oh, maybe I should start doing that. Oh, I feel like people won't accept me. And I do completely get that. And I do see the harm in it in that way. But at the same time, I do see, in a lot of ways, I feel like maybe not there. I feel like there are stereotypes. And for instance, something like labels and stuff like that, things that people are really against and really for breaking down. And I mean, I do see the harm in stereotypes, especially kind of negative ones and all of that stuff. But I think sometimes they can be helpful in a certain way because it can help you sort of identify, oh, maybe I'm kind of more like this, because I'm not saying you always will fit into them. And then so they can, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like either you're not enough like the stereotypes, so then you feel like you're not good enough to be in that group. Or it can help you find out your identity because you're like, oh, this is ticking a lot of those boxes.
Yeah. That was something I kind of wanted to talk about because I feel like for a lot of young queer people that are just coming out, finding a label is a really useful thing to do. And like it makes you feel like you belong. And I think, or it can at least, it did for me. Like I remember just feeling like, oh, yes, I can like be calm with the fact that I'm just gay and like that's fine. And I think that when you kind of find your niche, when you find that you're like part of this new like shiny LGBTQ community, there's definitely like a certain want to dive into it head first and like make that your whole life, you know, just because maybe you've never felt like that accepted before. And
100%.
I think that that's why a lot of people like go very hard into the gay thing when they first figure it out. But it's just like that's kind of a part of growing up, is finding which parts of things that you do like and which bits you don't.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I thought.
Yeah.
Do you think you missed out on anything growing up at school? Like anything that your peers were kind of doing that you couldn't really join in on because of being gay? Or maybe not directly, but in some way linked? Like, do you feel like you missed out on anything, or anything was put on hold, kind of like that?
Yeah, well, I feel like for a lot of gay people, unless you grow up in like a super accepting place, and I did, but not to the extent that I was like having boyfriends all the time, you know? Like it was, I think I am just like in my first relationship basically now. So I think that for a lot of gay people growing up, it's like you kind of don't have those formative years of like getting into relationships, and obviously there are loads of straight people that like never have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever. But I think it's quite common for gay people to like not have that, to like not know relationships, not know love in that sense, like until they're a bit older. And Marie was saying earlier about how maybe like queer people tend to kind of start their lives a bit later, and I quite like that way of thinking about it, because
but I mean, I don't mean their lives necessarily, but I think romantic life.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think if you just put it this way, like when you're around 14 or whatever, when people start having parties, and then all the girls and the guys are starting to get with each other, and it's this whole like exciting thing, or like sneak off into rooms and all of this stuff. If you're gay, even if you go to a very liberal school, which we went to, in a very secular school, there weren't necessarily like loads of out people loads of out gay guys that you could just pick and choose from in the same way that a straight cis person might experience at school. You know what I mean?
Totally. And like I think that now that you say that, like I definitely think that was something that consciously I was thinking like, oh, this is so annoying that no one else is like available to me. But also that like if there was any other gay out person, there was this weird expectation that you should like get together with them, and like that was weird because you might not have any connection, like any slightest connection with this person. And still to some extent today, people are like, oh my god, you should meet my gay friend. I'm like, great, like I don't know, like, do you want us to date? Like, it's not like, it's so weird.
It's not like every time that I meet that I'm talking to a girl and then I meet a straight guy, I'm like, oh my god, you should meet my straight guy friend that I just made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not constantly trying to set straight people up because they have so much option, because it's so easily accessible to people. It's so like, it's not even, you just don't even think about it. It's first nature. it's not this whole thing that you have to, this obstacle at parties, so like, of like, oh wow, like, can people really see me getting with this person? I mean, you do, but it's not in the same way, obviously. It's more from
definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I do see how that could be shit. That's why, like, being bi is great, because then
you just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think along those lines, like, it was kind of annoying not having that. And I still feel that, like, when I go to a straight club, or like a normal club, I guess, just not a gay club, like, there's this weird vibe about you're not, people are either like looking at you as a potential partner, like cis women or whatever, or you're basically just getting beefed by random straight guys because they like think you're dancing with their mates. Like, I don't know, like, it's fucking weird. It's so odd. Like, I've got so many awful, horrid straight men who have just come up to me and been like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you looking at? I'm just like, I'm just trying to dance and like have a good time. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like clubbing and stuff like that, because it's so, like, most spaces are so hetero based, as like is the whole world really. Unless it's those specific places, that it must be so. I mean, the purpose of clubbing, like, remember this one time we were at a gay club and then our straight friend was like, oh, I'm not having the greatest time, just because she's not getting hit on, which is like, I'm not judging her.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah,
imagine
like a lot of the time
gay
going
people
club
feel the rest of the time.
Exactly. Like, a lot of the time clubbing is you're just going there for attention from whatever sex you're attracted to, and like you want that kind of vibe. Like, that is kind of what going clubbing is about,
at least for
in
some people,
kind of way. Yeah.
And
so
I think some people just don't understand that, like, if I go into a normal club, right, maybe at the very most optimistic statistic, like, maybe 1/10 of those people will be even accessible to me, and then of those 10% of people, then like, who's going to be attracted to me or attracted to me, and then like, who am I going to be attracted to out of those people? So you end up with like a tiny pool of people that are potential kind of
so then
it sounds like we're just like hungry for everything, but true.
So then how have you found people, and how have you found those spaces with it being so limited? Like, let's say when you were still in school, and like before you can go to gay clubs, before you, like, how do you meet people, and like, what is the gay, you don't have to talk about like specifically you, I just mean like, what is kind of the culture, like, well, what do people do, where do people meet, what is the standard?
I think it's different for everyone, and I know that actually, like, it's a bit of a problem that because young gay people like can't find people, that they go on to like apps that are not meant for people their age, and like people kind of grow up very fast, and that's definitely a problem. But for me, like, you're asking like how I found people in school, I didn't, like, I just didn't. There was no one. It was either like word of mouth, or just like, I have this gay friend that you can meet, and then you like try and meet them and like see if you like them. But I don't know, it was a fucking dry spell, really. Like, I didn't do anything really until I was kind of old enough to go out and meet people.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but like, gay bars and stuff are really nice. They feel very accepting. I remember the first time I went to one, I was like, oh, this is great. Everyone seems nice.
Yeah, I kind of, in a way, like, this is gonna sound so stupid. It sounds kind of nice being gay, because then when you do step into the space, it must feel like, it must be this like euphoric
like
feeling.
A warm hug.
It must be like, oh, finally. Whereas like straight people or like bi people necessarily, like, I don't think I've ever really felt that, of like just walking in and being like, oh, finally, because you're so used to it, like, you don't know how good
never feeling
how good
out of place. Not that this is like at all related, but the other day we went to Shoreditch to go to the box park, and it was mainly black people, and I was literally one of the only white people there, and I was like, this is kind of like refreshing, because I've never been the only white person in a situation. Like, I feel like this is a situation that white people should put themselves in, just so that they get to have the feeling for a second and like empathize with what people who aren't always in the space, like in a space where they are like surrounded by people that are like them, and to know what that's like.
Yeah, I think definitely like putting yourself in a situation where you are the minority is kind of it's very useful, and like it can give you so much perspective. And I don't know if this is relevant or whatever, but there was like a thing that my uni put on, which was like a Pride Without Prejudice, I think it was called. I don't know. It was basically just like a load of talks on like queer issues and like race issues or whatever. And one of them was talking about like how inaccessible to ethnic minorities or like people that aren't white the whole uni system was, and like the whole social event system, because this was coming from like a young black girl, and she was saying that like the things that the university organizes, like, oh, just like going to hang out at a pub or like doing this or doing that, just aren't things that like her community did, or they didn't do that stuff to have fun, so they kind of felt excluded about that. So I think it's like always useful and eye-opening to put yourself in a position where you're not the people that are being catered towards.
Yeah. So I kind of want to ask, just to go, I guess this is kind of regressing a bit, but what was your experience with coming out at school? Because I know we were saying being bi is like the best of both worlds. And like, well, I don't want to speak for you, but like you kind of said that you were bi before you came out. So like, what was that?
Yeah, I always forget about this. Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one because I told like a small group of people that I was bi, first of all, and like this was a very small group of people, like no one knew for another few months. But then basically I got like pushed out of the closet completely by this dude who just found out like when he was at lunch with some other people, and then actually like said really horrible stuff to me. But I remember it so clearly. Like they were all at this restaurant, and I get this text. This person said, I know, like someone told me, and I was like, you can't tell anyone. And he finally agreed that he wouldn't tell anyone, but then he did, and like that's basically how the whole year found out.
But how did he find out in the first place?
Because he like took a punt and said, talk to someone who knew as if he knew as well, and they like confirmed it to him.
Oh wow.
So yeah, this was like the whole weird thing, and I don't know, it was quite a horrible experience actually. Like I remember it very clearly, as I said before. Like it was these messages, like they were all together. He thought it was a massive joke, and then he sent me this video of him like singing a song about how I was a fag, and it was really just like not at all nice. And then I had like a small panic attack, and then this was all on a Friday afternoon, and then by the Monday, like everyone knew. So I walked into school, and it was like the big news.
I didn't know that. I thought you were outed like in the same little batch as me.
No, like
because it happened. I swear it was the same weekend. No, it was like all the same weekend. It was like that same day that it was the whole talk that you were gay and that I was bi, and it was this whole thing.
Maybe
but like,
we did that
actually,
because,
I don't
like,
remember people making a fuss about my thing. I feel like people didn't give a fuck about me at all.
And to be honest, like probably no one gave a fuck about mine either.
Yeah, I don't remember like hearing that about Will being gay. Like
I just remember once suddenly, to me it was like suddenly one Monday at school. I remember the story you just told about the text.
It was like the Monday.
Because I remember you texted me and everything, and then that Monday everyone just knew. We just went in and everyone just knew about both of us though. Like
I think this is how I handled it. I was like, right, these people know, like the sporty boys, like the popular boys, they all know. So I'm just going to tell everyone, basically. I remember like on that day, I told Max and Monty, like my best friends at the time, like I told them that I was gay, and they were like, so what? It's cool, which was great. So I think I kind of took control of the situation. I was like, I'm just going to tell everyone before everyone finds out. So I don't remember, it's a bit hazy, but I basically came into school that next week and everybody knew. Like that was weird because that's when I started trying to kind of perform this gay persona.
Yeah. So what was your experience with moving on from that when everyone had found out? What were people's reactions, other than obviously like, oh, this is the juicy gossip of the day? Like what were people's reactions, and how did their interactions with you change based on that? Did you notice a big difference or?
I would say that mostly everyone was just really nice. Like it was yeah, everyone being quite supportive, but also there were like a few people that were a bit strange about it, but nothing like particularly bad. The only bad stuff was just like having to go and use the boys' locker room and like get made fun of. But that was basically it in terms of that. So it was just kind of it. I did kind of feel a little bit like some of the girls that I was friends with kind of expected me to be a certain way after that.
Like the GBF, like, oh my god, I want a gay
like
guy
little
to
bit.
take me shopping.
I guess there was like a little bit of that, but no, mostly it was just really nice, good reactions. So actually, it wasn't a horrible experience. And this boy, who shall not be named, said what I wasn't comfortable with saying at the time. And like, obviously, it should be on your terms, but it kind of gave me a kick that I needed to just embrace stuff, which was good.
Yeah, fair enough. And what about, because you just mentioned telling your best friends at the time, and those friends sort of changed kind of soon after that. Do you think that that was kind of related to coming out?
I forget about this.
Or, because, sorry, just disclaimer, these two friends, it's like two guys. And then, I'm not trying to say that you don't have any guy friends, but like then, I feel like after you came out, from then on is like when we started getting a lot closer, and like from then on our group kind of started forming in some kind of way. I mean, so then now you mostly have girlfriends. Do you think that that had anything to do with coming out, like that friendship ending? And like, what is your opinion now on male friendship and your friendships look like?
No, there's definitely truth to that. So like the situation was that I'm pretty sure like it was you guys all knew, I think, or at least Maria I was super close with at this time anyway. Like we became friends sort of because we were both not straight.
And I'm pretty sure Honey... No, yeah, all my friends
Honey
knew.
but like I wasn't super close with her yet.
I know all my friends knew, because my friends wouldn't... I would have told them, and like it's... I mean, you became friends with them later on, so like, you know, they're not the kind of people that would have given a fuck. So I it wasn't like I was like spreading your secrets, but it was pretty much like, this is my like.
No, well, I remember because I was there when you guys became friends at that one party that we were talking about. Like, I remember standing like a meter away and you guys being like, "Oh, I'm bi," and I was like, same.
The fact that no one else heard that, like,
no, they did though. That's how I was outed, because apparently I was shouting it to everyone.
Oh god.
Yeah.
And then that people overheard, and then it spread around the whole school. Well, around the whole year. But like, I was like not a very popular kid, so I don't think people really gave a fuck. So
oh my god, well, I mean, neither was I, so
no, but at that point you were part of like the popular people group.
Was I?
Yeah, but that's what my question then is like, so your friendships that you had, like with these male friendships with your like guy best friends, and then like the other friendships that you had at the time, because that's kind of when we transitioned into our friendship. Do you think that that's because you came out? Do you think it has to do with coming out, or do you think it was just time?
So I don't think it was coming out necessarily, because like I continued being best friends with my two best guy friends for like ages afterwards. It was mostly just like, you know, that stage when everyone like thinks they're really cool, goes to parties and like sees out of school friends, like people from different schools. That's when we kind of drifted apart, just because like they were into kind of being cooler than I was. So I kind of like regressed. Well, not regressed. I just focused in on the people that like made me feel good. So that's how I became friends with like you and Honey and stuff, most of all. But I don't think it was necessarily coming out that changed things. But I think that possibly being gay was like a little bit of a difference. But they were always like super supportive, and I remember they would ask questions, like they were curious about it, like they would ask like, oh, like, is it any different, like kissing a guy or like all of this stuff. So I don't think it wasn't necessarily that I was gay, it was just more of external factors. However, I do find that like I don't have a super easy time like being friends with guys, because I have a weird thing that I think that they won't want to talk to me. But like that's definitely like a me problem, because like I know there are a lot of super out there gay guys who have loads of male friends or whatever. I just don't, like, I just think I vibe better with women most of the time.
Fair enough. Do you think that that's a gay thing, like having mostly female friends, or do you think that's just a you thing? Because I think loads of people have different preferences. There's loads of girls that prefer being friends with girls, and loads of girls that just have guy friends.
Yeah.
But do you think it's a gay thing, or do you think it's just a personality thing?
Well, I think it's both, but I would say that definitely like it's quite a gay thing, just because girls in their school years are not concerned with like being super macho and like being, there's not that same, like, if you're not masculine then you're not worth anything, like there's not that same thing. But whereas with boys, like I feel like they're terrified of not appearing classically like masculine and male. And there's a weird thing because like everyone is obviously going through puberty at around the same time, but like there's a big spectrum. So the people that like go through it first are kind of considered weird, but then the people that go through it later are also considered weird. So like there's a lot of anxiety around masculinity at this point in boys.
Yeah. Do you think that that's still present even at university? Like you think people are still trying to live up to that level of masculinity?
Totally. I mean, like I think people probably do grow out of it at some point, but 100%, like it's there. I think it's just in a lot of like male lad culture, it's very oriented around like being a certain type of guy, and if you're not that type of guy, like people won't, I don't know, think you're good enough. It's weird. So I think being friends with girls comes down to, I think I just found myself more accepted and more comfortable in those situations. Like I felt like girls, well, specifically you guys, because you're bi, like you understood what I was going through, you know. But
yeah,
I think girls are generally just easier for me.
Yeah, no, but I so get that too. Like I don't want to be friends with really like laddie guys. I think it's so unappealing and unattractive in any kind of relationship, whether that's friendship or like I wouldn't want to date a super laddie guy because it's just they're way too obsessed with masculinity, and that's not the kind of energy I want to surround myself with.
This lad culture, like as well, if we're just talking casual conversations, like I find myself excluded because they do make jokes that are not only offensive to me, but like they're just quite often make jokes that are like offensive or not very respectful of women, and like that makes me uncomfortable. So I think I'm kind of neither here nor there in that situation. Like I would like to be friends with men, but sometimes when I find myself in a group of men, like straight men, they say things that like don't make me very comfortable. So oh, you
know what I find so annoying is that like people, specifically men, I find are so obsessed with the idea that progressives and like gay people and women can't take a joke, and it's like, well, no, because we're the ones that the jokes are actually aimed at, whereas you're not. So like, yeah, that's why I don't want to hang out with you, because you're all assholes to anyone who's outside of what your idea of what the world should be.
Yeah, this idea that like everyone's super sensitive, but like if you turn it round and these straight men are like the butt of every joke, then I'm pretty sure they would be a little bit pissed about it.
And they are the whole straight white male thing now. Like when that's actually become a thing, like, oh, shut up, like straight white man.
Yeah, the whole
they get
like,
so offended by them. It's like, oh well, guess what? That is literally what your joke has been to everyone else in the world until this point.
Yeah, but I feel like also there's just a time and a place for jokes. I mean, my close friend could make the same exact joke as one of these quote-unquote lads, and I might find it funny when my friend makes it, but I will not find it funny when this random guy I've never met makes it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's just time and a place. You can't...
Yeah, you're allowed to poke at your friends.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, there's just...
It's not the same if those jokes come from a place of like...
Yeah, it's just, I can take a joke. It just isn't funny when you say it, mate. Like,
yeah, and aiming a joke at one whole section of society is just not cool. Like, if you do it to one person and you know they're going to take it well, then fine. But you're literally just making fun of, like, all gay people, all women. Like,
yeah, also, like, a whole group of people that you know absolutely nothing about. So, don't really understand that.
So what... Oh, I wanted to ask, actually. What do you think of the idea of someone kind of counting you as, like, the GBF? Like, oh, yeah, Will's, like, my GBF, you know, my gay bestie. That kind of...
it's fucking tiring. Like I don't want to like be an accessory, you know? Like it's not fun if you're just like expected to give one thing. But I don't know, it's just like I don't want to give the same energy all the time. Like, yes, I might be your gay best friend at some point, but I'm also gonna like do other things. I'm gonna tell you you're gross.
I just can't stop laughing thinking about the idea of me being like, hey girl, let's go shopping.
Get in bed, we're going shopping.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
no, that's gross. I hate that.
Imagine I was like, oh my god, you're my straight best friend. Oh my
Totally.
god,
Like,
it's so cute.
It's like, it's a really weird concept, no? Like, I just feel like you wouldn't accessorize any other group of people.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
But then does it bother you if we're like, oh yeah, Will's like our token gay friend?
No, because that's not. I know that you don't actually think that. Like, if you see what I mean. Like, yes.
Yeah, to be fair, how I'm saying it is like he's the closest person I know who is gay. As in, like, he's the the only gay man that I'm very close with.
Yeah, and I feel also that you're not by saying that, right? You're not expecting me to like fulfill a function.
Yeah.
Whereas,
and we're
like,
not
if
only
people are
friends
describing
with you because you're gay.
Yeah, like if people are describing me as like the gay best friend, like let's go shopping. Like, is that all I'm good at? I don't understand. And I also hate shopping, so I don't know. It's weird. I think it also comes back to that like very unthreatening stereotype of gay men as like being these weird eunuchs that can't do anything except for give you compliments. Like it's a bit strange.
Yeah, true. Compliments and sass.
Compliments and sass.
Yes, queen.
Yes.
So we're kind of getting up to an hour, but I actually wanted to talk about sex. Like, I feel like we didn't really talk about like the hookup culture and sort of the sex world in the as a gay man.
We can do a quickie little bit.
Yeah. Should we do a quickie little bit?
Do
So
you want to mansplain to us?
Gaysplain to us, kind of what's it like? Like, talk me through, is there a lot of casual sex? Is it a lot of, I don't know, kind of, how does it work? Like, it kind of sounds like you just text someone and they show up and suck your dick. Like, that's what it sounds like to me. And then you just don't know anything about them. Whereas we're like, I know that happens in the straight world. Like, I've gone out on a night out and fucked a stranger, but I feel it's more like I'm going out there and like... I feel like it's not at my fingertips.
Yeah, and it's not so out there like you would literally text someone asking for a shack. Like, I feel like that's not... Maybe like there's a bit of a guise like just going out.
Yeah, I feel like there's more of a game. You know? I feel like there's more of a game
right?
in the straight world. Is that not the case in the...
I also think maybe that's because there's not like an innate understanding between the two parties. Like maybe they think the other one wants a bit of a game, you know?
Yeah, that's so true.
But
also guys feel like they have to make the move, the first move.
I think some gay guys are like just comfortable with the fact that they're talking to other gay men who probably have the same needs as they do and like the same wants. Obviously it's nowhere near that simple, and like there are always problems for that. And generally one person feels like they haven't got the most out of it. But yeah, there's definitely a huge like hookup culture. And I think part of this is because like gay people are kind of starved of affection.
But then do you feel like it's
from a young
so
age.
Sexual, the whole dating app of it all, or not dating app, like hookup app of it all, and how you meet people and how you interact with people, that then that's why going back to the stereotypes at the start, that's why there is this misconception that gay men can't really be in like monogamous relationships and there isn't that much stability. It's very much just about like, because then how do you really meet someone? Like, can you go on dates off Grindr, or will you be laughed at? If that
No,
happens?
I mean some people
like, do people expect sex from you? Are you worried that people are going to get bored because you're not giving them sex straight away? Like, what's the general pressure like?
I don't know. I feel like Grindr is a massive thing, obviously. Like, people do use it, and mostly I would say it's like a sexual thing. But then I also would say that because we have Grindr, or like because the gay community is known for Grindr, if you go on other dating apps, they're like nowhere near as sexual. Like, I remember our friend Miranda talking about how like Tinder was always hypersexual for her. Like, people always talked about Tinder or like acted on Tinder as if that was their way of meeting people for like a hookup, right? but because gay people have Grindr, Tinder is very clean, and like
Okay.
the other dating apps are not that, and like they're very relationship oriented. But I would say that Grindr is mostly hookups. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I don't know. It's a very big part of gay culture, but it's not like limited to that. I would say like people do go on dates or just meet friends of Grindr. Like,
Do you think Grindr was like created, like did it start as a dating app, or is it literally just a hookup app and that's all it's been ever
well,
been?
if we just look at like the icon, right, it's a mask. Like I feel like that if that doesn't say like anonymity glory hole, like I don't know what it's saying, to be honest. Like it's obviously like a bit of a seedy app. Like the interface is all black. It's a bit like,
Yeah, whenever I
you
see
know,
it, it
like,
looks
it's a
like
bit-
such a B-tech
yeah.
app. Like who
But-
created it?
It just looks, I think the whole thing about it is a bit seedy and a bit like underworld, and that's kind of harmful because gay relationships aren't something to be hidden. They're not something that's like
Yeah.
shameful. So I think, yeah, there may be something a little bit, we could probably unpack that more, but I'm not going to. Anyway.
What about the whole top and bottom thing?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I already asked you this the other day, but I think it's interesting.
Mm.
So how strict actually is it? Because I mean, I'm biased. I obviously know a little bit about like the lesbian community, the
Mhm.
whole top bottom, like it is in the lesbian community.
Yeah.
But from my experience and from what I've heard, it's not really that strict. Like there are those people that are really strict, but then in the gay community, it seems like it's like if you're a bottom, you have to find a top. Like it's kind of like your soulmate kind of thing. And then if you like, it seems like to me, my perception is you sit down on the first date, you're like, oh, I'm a top, and then you're like, oh, I'm a top too.
Oh, guess not.
Guess I'm gonna get it. Sorry, mate. Yeah, like that's kind of what it make like they make it sounded a little.
That's
bit,
what people would
they
have
make
you
it sound a
believe,
little
but I
bit
think
like that.
that's maybe just because that's like quite a funny, quirky thing to say. Like I don't know. It's obviously not like that. Like people are a lot more flexible, and I feel that people are generally more likely to be flexible and, I don't know, versatile than just a top or just a bottom. Like I don't know. It's this way. It's quite a handy way of like codifying the way that we have sex, and it can be useful like for as an identifier. But I've only met a very small number of people that will not deviate from what they call themselves.
So it's more like a preference.
Oh, it's totally a preference.
Okay, because I feel like
it's not like an identity.
Good clarification.
Or maybe some people it is, but
yeah, because it seems like an identity. Like I feel like the way it comes across to me as an outsider of the gay community, it seems like it's really like this is it. It's
also,
a deal breaker.
Like the memes about like all of these things that bottoms do, and like you could like look at someone's room and be like, that's a bottom's room. But I don't know, it's
but
weird.
I feel like as well from like a straight perspective, it's like you look, because it's like top and bottom. So our idea of sex and our concept of sex, not that I'm straight, but like I don't know why I'm talking like I'm straight, but you know what I mean. Like someone who does have sex with guys, the concept of sex is like just penis in something else, whereas in gay sex that's not like all gay sex is.
I think that in to some extent is gay people kind of assimilating into a heteronormative, like very binary world, and that's maybe part of the whole top and bottom thing. Because also coming with top and bottom, there's also a handful of other kind of things that you're supposed to embody if you are either one of those things. So it's the idea of like who wears the pants, you know, like it's a bit stupid, but it's something that is a relic of probably less tolerant times.
Thank you for clarifying that.
No
Yeah,
problem.
thank you.
Happy to help.
Okay, well, any closing thoughts? Any advice you have, William or Maria or me? Any advice to anyone else?
Just be yourself.
Do you have any quick little bits of advice or anything that you wish someone told you about gay sex that you didn't know? Any tips? Anything that you want to leave any young gay listeners?
Or even not just about sex, like anything in general about being gay.
I think, as with all things, like you just kind of got to figure all these things out, and like no one's going to be a better teacher to yourself than you are going through it. But I mean, I wish there was some kind of gay sex education. I think that would have been useful. But no, I think you just gotta follow what you feel, and like how you feel is never really gonna be wrong, is it? So I think the advice that I would give to myself growing up is probably just to take everything that I'm feeling as if it is valid and like it's what I'm feeling, and just go at it. Go and have a good time, you know? Just do it. Do it unapologetically.
Just do it, baby.
Just do it, baby. Nike, just do it. Yeah, just like don't censor yourself. Don't do all that stuff. It's just life is a big game to be enjoyed.
True.
Thank you so much for joining us, Will.
Yes, thank you
and
so
for being
much.
honest
It was a
and
pleasure.
open.
And yeah, as always, please subscribe, please rate and review, and keep sending us your stories. You can follow us on Instagram at Sextras Podcast, or email us at sextraspodcast@gmail.com. You can also find our new Facebook page, which is called Sextras Podcast, funnily enough.
Surprise.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Sextras, presented by Honey Jane Wyatt and Maria Jose Hayodatiyi, produced by Mable Productions.